Yo, 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 what's up? Do the Michael Whitfield clap to start the video.
Clap.
What is going on? Welcome back. Episode 5, Victor Lab Fantasy Football Podcast. Noah is currently in a fantasy football draft for a different league. So today is just Seth and I, or Seth and me. Fuck.
Grammar.
And yeah, so this week's episode is going to be a little shorter, as you probably saw when you clicked on the video, or maybe not. We might just go off on a tangent about something weird, but it should be pretty short. Not much has happened in our league. There haven't been any trades in the Victory Lap leagues. Ricky tried to trade J.K. Dobbins today to anybody in the league that maybe didn't know that J.K. Dobbins is now officially out for the year. ACL tear. Feels bad, terrible. I was just watching Matthew Berry just tweeted out a video on Twitter maybe 10 minutes before we started recording this, and he's like, it's awful, like you don't want to just roam over, this dude is done for the season, and this is going to have huge implications on his career as a football player. It sucks, but you have to talk about what changes, especially players getting hurt, affects fantasy football just as much as it affects all the teams individually. Probably affects fantasy football even more, for the most part. It probably affects the team more, including the linemen and stuff that you don't have on your fantasy team. So we don't want to sound like we are malicious when we talk about players that tear their ACLs or anything. But so now J.K. Dobbins tears his ACL. Our team, we talked about our team before. First road bump of the year, fucking week and a half after the draft, we lose our third round pick, but we have Lamar as our quarterback. So what was our first thoughts, Seth, when we saw that, thinking about our team?
Yeah, it was your first reactions. Oh, fuck. That's a top. Anytime I would say your top 5 or 6 picks goes down. After that, you're like, okay, it still sucks, but that's a guy you invest and put a lot of resources into. So your first thoughts, oh, fuck. And like you said, selfishly, you're not really thinking about the player, more so the fantasy implications, which, it's bad to think of it that way, but also, we're in a fantasy mindset. So that was the first reaction. Excuse me. That was the first reaction there. But as you said, with Lamar being our quarterback, I think it does help. Maybe his rushing stats a little bit as well. But it sucks all around. But it does help that we did draft running back to start off with. So our plan for supreme running back depth has taken a hit right now. But at least we do have Taylor and Zeke as well.
Right. So originally our plan was to be running back, wide receiver, and then our flex was going to be J.K. Dobbins. But now we're probably going to go 3 wide receivers week by week for the most part between
well, we got Odell,
Jerry Jeudy, and who was our first wide receiver?
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp. Sorry, there's lots of fantasy football. Seth and I both did 2 drafts of our own. So that's the only bad part about being in 4 leagues, is you kind of mix up all the teams in your head a little bit. And then after week 3 of the regular season, it's okay, I got a better idea of all this now. So sorry if we messed any of that shit up. So the other guy besides J.K. Dobbins, so I guess the other thing I was going to say about that too was my draft I did Friday night, I took J.K. Dobbins in the 4th round, and then I took Gus Edwards in the 9th or 10th round. So handcuffs are important. So I guess this is a great little side note. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have heard of a handcuff, but just in case you haven't, a handcuff is basically your first or second round running backs. In case they get hurt, you take the backup on the team so that you still get all of like the volume of that position on that team in case your starter goes, or your first or second round pick goes down to ACL tear, something crazy like that. So like Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard's a handcuff, Dalvin Cook, it's Alexander Madison for the Vikings, and
Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon.
yeah, and so I don't think Gus Edwards is a handcuff like at all. I think he was gonna get like 25 to 30% of the
carries,
touches in general, but with PPR, J.K. Dobbins is going to be a beast because Gus Edwards doesn't really catch the ball. So it's not exactly a handcuff, but I'm glad in the Victory Lap League, we have Lamar as well with J.K. And then the other league, I took J.K. in. I also took Gus Edwards. So I was able to hedge losing J.K. really
as best as you could.
It was fun. I know the Ravens, and there's a lot of questions with like the receiving game and Lamar passing, but J.K. Dobbins was pretty underrated player, really talented. So best of luck to him in his recovery. Hope he comes back even better next 2022. So other guy to talk about, Travis Etienne, Jacksonville Jaguars, also out for the season. And now the guy that won a bunch of people fantasy football leagues in 2020, Mr. James Robinson, whose ADP was putting him closer to like the 7th and 8th round prior. He's back up and he's now going back in the 3rd and 4th round. And I wouldn't be surprised if some drafts out there, he's going like middle second, late second. The volume's there. Trevor Lawrence, new quarterback, not a great defense. So like the offense is going to need to go crazy. And he did that last year. So when we talked about J.K. Dobbins, Seth, you did a good part on that. So like, why don't you first couple of things you think about with James Robinson in terms of people who still have drafts coming up, and then what you think his production compared to last year might be like?
Yeah. So I think I really do think Robinson was going to be the primary back to start off the year. So
yeah,
I think his role is not going to change. Obviously, it's going to change this year, but to start off, I do think he was going to be more of just your prototypical, first and second down back in Etienne for a lot of the catching, the PPR receptions part of it. And I think the situation is a little different than like the Ravens zone. I think you're going to see some of the running back production go to the receivers, Chenault and Chark and Marvin Jones. I think there's going to be a lot more, especially Chenault. I saw in the preseason today where he was getting a lot of those like screens at the line of scrimmage and kind of extended run plays. So I do think some of Etienne's production is actually going to go to some of the receivers rather than Robinson. I think Robinson's still going to be obviously the main guy there. He's going to get 80% of the touches like he did last year.
I think it's kind of similar to like a DeAndre Swift kind of situation where not like the greatest like receiving talent around him, not obviously not one of the best quarterbacks either, but like not a terrible pass catcher. I think they kind of equate to each other like that. So yeah, like big tight end Hawkinson is going to take a fuck ton of targets, but I mean
don't even know who the Jaguars tight end.
James Robinson will probably still have like at least 40, 45, 50 targets and 35 or 40 receptions.
Yeah, I mean their back is Carlos Hyde. He's an okay back, but he's not really a PPR reception god. Yeah. So,
and then taking what you just said, like in a 12-man PPR league, like where would you? I know it depends. Like if you went like running back, or like wide receiver, but just assuming like you didn't like the receivers that were there and you were going to go running back, like,
Yeah.
or like, I'm not even saying the third round. Where would you feel comfortable taking James Robinson?
Yeah, it was a pretty good example last night in our draft where I had the third pick, and so second or third to last pick in the second round. I kind of wanted to go running back. I went Najee, and he went 2 picks before, and I really liked Clyde, and so I was happy. But he would have been my next running back. I would have taken
Clyde.
After Clyde. So if Clyde would have been gone, because that receiver range, there's like 5 guys. I was going over in the draft
So
with
you
last night that I
would have
kind of.
taken James Robinson before Joe Mixon.
I would have taken James Robinson for Joe Mixon, and I think I would have taken him that second pick just because that third round pick with the receivers. I liked all the receivers. I liked 5.
You would have just
so
taken
like,
who was left.
exactly, because I like Keenan Allen, I like Terry McLaurin, I liked
Possibly Justin Jefferson if I had
possibly Justin Jefferson, and even like CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it might have been a tad early, but I would have been
Big
okay
upside.
with him. So
Okay.
I think late second, early third. He felt like what, early fourth.
He went like the third or fourth pick of the fourth round yesterday, and then in another draft I did on Friday, I actually took him in the fourth pick of the third round.
Wow.
And then yesterday he went third pick of the fourth round, but I took him fourth pick of the third round. God, that's so confusing that they're saying fuck.
I know it's.
But besides that, I mean, nothing else really crazy said before we started recording about the other guy that got injured, but that was like a while longer ago. Who was it?
Cam Akers.
Yeah, Cam Akers. Yeah. Daryl Henderson. I think I drafted him in 2 leagues this year. I think once in the 7th and once in the 8th round. I'm pretty cool with that. One of the leagues I did take him, I drafted Sony Michel in like the 14th or the 15th because they're the clear like top 2. So
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like I even handcuffed Daryl Henderson because I was like, I felt like I filled out the rest of my bench pretty well for like potential like starters, and then I was like, oh, Sony, let's do it. Like whichever one wants to be the Rams guy, like I'm gonna have the guy. And then what were we gonna say?
No, I was just saying, what do you think Sony's roles? Do you think he's gonna be like I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm interested to see if it's gonna be like Henderson still going to get like 75% of the carries, or if it's going to be closer to 50-50, because that's going to be.
I mean, Daryl Henderson's going to be the workhorse. It's really going to depend on how healthy he stays. So I do think beginning of the season, when they're trying to figure out like how well he can progress through a game health wise and like his conditioning levels, because he's a bigger running back. So not as big as like Mike Davis, but he's a bigger running back. So I think it'll be like a 60-40 split. But if that goes another way, if they start falling in love with Daryl Henderson's like strength and like the questionable tag next to his name goes away, then I think it goes more like 80-20. But if like Sony's going crazy, making catches and doing really well off of like screen blocking, like Sony could easily take the majority like shares of the touches, but we'll see. I feel bad because like Sony kind of got abused by that Patriots offense, so he hasn't really had like a shining moment, but we'll see. But Seth and I mentioned before we started recording, that's pretty much like all of like the fantasy news the past week and a half ish. I don't know if we mentioned it last episode, but we said these next 2 episodes are going to be a little shorter because the season just hasn't started. So besides injuries and guys getting traded like Sony Michel, there's not as much stuff to talk about quite yet, but I mean, we're very close, very excited. First game is 2 Thursdays from now. Today's Sunday, August 29th. So, I mean, that's only 11 more days before
Yeah,
the Buccaneers take on the Cowboys. Is that in Dallas? No,
I
the Super
believe.
Bowl team,
I
Super Bowl winner host,
I
right? It's probably in Tampa
let's see.
Bay. Usually, because they got to put the banner up and they got to get the
I would
ring.
think so. Let's see though.
It's got to be in Tampa.
Yeah, it's in Tampa. Yep.
Yeah, the Super Bowl team gets to host the Thursday night game.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Early prediction upset. I hate all the people that are truthers about like the Cowboys being good every year. But if Dak is able to be healthy, like full healthy week one, that'd be like a great way to start the year. Is like if the Cowboys beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know this is a fantasy football podcast, but like I said,
Yeah.
this week's a little shorter, so it's fun to kind of look forward to that as well.
Yeah,
What
that's good. That's gonna be an exciting game. That's gonna be a really fun game.
first touchdown of the 2021 NFL season. Hopefully, there's a touchdown scored in Thursday night's football.
Oh, I hope so.
So, who do you got? First touchdown of the entire
Ooh.
season.
Oof. I'm gonna go Michael Gallup. That's kind of
That's fair.
off the
Okay.
grid, but a guy that's kind of been undervalued this year. But I think he'll score the first one.
I'm gonna go Ronald Jones.
There you go.
Jones. Even though I just said I hope the Cowboys win the game to start the season off with an upset. I don't think the point spread will be huge though. I think it'll be.
No,
I think it's only because it might be.
I think with less than
it really
a touchdown,
depends on, like I said, it really depends on Dak Prescott's like injury, like his health report going into that game.
I think it'll be less than a touchdown. I would imagine.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 5.5, 6. I think that's kind of high. I think I would take the Cowboys with that.
I think I would too. Yeah, if Dak's healthy.
4.5 is probably like the sweet zone.
Because I think that with a healthy Dak, that offense is better than
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Bucks offense.
That's probably
obviously the defense. The Bucks got one of the top 5 defenses, and Cowboys probably bottom 10. But
right, and the Bucks won't have those whack ass refs helping them out in the playoffs like they did.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
Yeah.
Police said they got helped against the Packers, but all right. I think that's gonna do it for episode 5. Like I said, sorry for the shorter episode, but week 1 is coming up, so we will next week will be kind of similar to this episode. No, next week is the preseason, like the preview show for week 1. So we'll go over like guys like start sits. So if you have like questions about that week by week, like guys you are wondering whether you want to start one guy or another, like just send us like a DM on our Twitter, Victor Lat Media on Twitter, or just reply to our latest tweet on that, or I don't know.
Yeah, you can be anonymous. We don't even have to say your name. It's just fun to have these discussions about guys.
Because we're gonna do that basically with our team, and we're gonna look at our matchup in the Victor Lap League and kind of go over some of those scenarios, and we're definitely gonna talk about. It's not as important going into week 1 because none of the games have happened yet. But after week 1 happens, we're going to talk about waiver wire pickups of the week, which if you're not on the waiver wire every Tuesday waiting to see the next day, if you got your waiver wire picks, then you're not trying to win fantasy football. So that's about it. Seth, any closing thoughts, closing words?
Not today. I'm excited for football. I know we got a little taste of it this weekend with college football and a lot more this weekend. So we're just going to slide right into the NFL weekend.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks again. Appreciate it again. Hey, subscribe on our YouTube. Our goal, it's going to be close. If you guys can help us out, we'd really appreciate it. But our goal is to get the YouTube page, Victor Lat Media, to 1,000 subscribers before the football season starts. Michael is going to be coming back from Chicago every couple weekends. And once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can live stream through YouTube and be able to interact with you guys while we're watching college football and the NFL slate. So we'd love to be able to do that. So if you haven't already, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. I think we're at like 935-ish or something. So Not too far
Getting
off.
close.
Not too far off. But appreciate it. Thanks for listening again. Check out our other videos. And like I said, go to our Twitter if you guys have questions or suggestions for the next episode. So until next week, appreciate it. Peace and love. Stay safe. Bye.
Peace.